The system actually remembers your bullet hits until you clear the target. Go morph.
It was an accident, sorry.
Oh, no problem. So the next target we're going to look at is at double convergence, 650 yards, twice our convergence setting, right? So we're going to type dot target space 650, 650 yards distant, space whatever your heading is again, space 13.125. So elevation on this one is 13.125. And I apologize if this part of the course is a little boring, but it is a little tedious, but I think it's important to demonstrate this. Because a lot of guys...
It ain't boring.
Okay, good. I think a lot of guys think of their bullets as kind of laser beams going out to the pipper. And they're not always at the pipper. In fact, usually they're not at where your line of sight is. They're not at the pipper level. By the way, if anybody doesn't know what the pipper is, that's the center dot. The center of your gun sight reticle. Okay, so a couple interesting things to note.
For the
PC?
Could you repeat them numbers again for the bringing up the gun sight again?
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to bring it up at 650 yards. So it's dot target space 650 space whatever heading you're on. I think I put you on 225. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, hey, not bad from the top of my head. And then the elevation number is going to be 13.125. 13 and an eighth degrees. Now we're at double convergence, right? So notice that the
2.5.
13.125.
Got it.
Okay, you should be looking at the target. The pipper should be right on the crosshairs. You should have
Sight fits perfectly.
4 rings. Yep, perfect. And yeah, the outer ring should be right around the outer ring of the target. The inner ring should be, that's going to be 80 feet wide. That's 4 circles. So the average airplane, again, when you're imagining an airplane out there, only fills either 1.5 to 2 of those circles. Remember when we were looking at our airplane, the 40-foot wingspan of the Corsair is going to fill the 2 inner circles. So if you're looking at the target and you have icons off, you can actually tell when you're at double convergence when the plane only fills half of that inner circle. Go ahead and fire.
Ooh, very cool. Thank you.
Yep. I've actually, with this gun sight, I've been able to stopping at the range numbers when I'm firing. And what that does is it gets me into my gun sight instead of looking at the icon. And for me, that helps me set up shots better because I can fire when I'm at convergence without having to think about the range. Only looking at the aircraft, the enemy aircraft. So give her a 2-3 second burst here.
Mental picture.
Okay, so there's our bullet stream out there at 650 yards. Now, a couple of things about this bullet stream. We're really working with horizontal distances here. The vertical distances aren't nice. In level flight, that bullet stream would be about 4 or 5 feet lower, because there'd be more bullet drop in level flight. Because our bullets are arcing up, the bullet drop isn't as significant.
Be near the bottom of the second ring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it actually probably would be closer to the bottom of the first inner circle. I think you're only going to see about 10 feet of bullet drop. And we can do this when we're flying, and we will do this when we're flying. But I just want to do this at the initial part on the ground because it takes all the variables out of people flying straight and level. So actually they'd be about 7 to 8 feet lower. In my notes it says about 7 to 8 feet lower in actual level flight. That's the bullet drop at 650 yards. Because remember, the guns are angled up and with. They have to angle up 6 feet from the wings to the pipper to begin with at 325 yards. So they're angled up some. They're continuing in a slight upward arc as they pass 325. And so they probably don't really start coming down until a little further out. So it's not like they're just firing level.
Yep, 440 yards, they don't drop very much at all, but after that they start to drop off. If you look at Buster's chart.
There you go. Yeah, I have that same Air Force manual, and that's when they start losing that velocity. The velocity really starts dropping off. So that's an interesting point. Even though these are fairly tight bullet streams, and you're only looking at about, again,
Zoom in on them.
yeah, you zoom in on them, they're really about 15 feet in diameter, or I'm sorry, diameter. You got 2 bullet streams, about 15 feet in diameter, but they've lost a lot of their velocity. A lot of their kinetic energy is dropping off now at 650 yards. So they're not as effective out there at that range. But the reason I point this out is, let's say you got that annoying pony or Dora extending from you, and you know he's just going to go level and run away in the MA. If you put your pipper about halfway out on his wing, instead of aiming for his fuselage, and he's out here at this distance of 650 yards, you're going to drop some bullets into his canopy. One of your wing's bullets are actually missing, or maybe hitting a wingtip, but the other bullet stream is hitting them in the canopy. Because those bullets are starting to descend. They're on the arc. They're on a downward arc. So you raise your pipper above his right or left wing, aim for the middle, pull the trigger, and you'll be arcing some bullets down into his canopy at 50 yards. And you'll get pilot wounds, and sometimes you'll get pilot kills doing that. You'll very often get the guy to start jinking, which is what you want to do. You want to get him to turn. You start dropping rounds into his canopy, a lot of guys are going to start pulling on the stick. Now, one other interesting thing about these 2 bullet patterns is their horizontal separation is back to about 18 feet. When we did our first shot right in close at 10 yards, the guns are mounted about 18 feet apart from each other. So from center gun to center gun on the Corsair, about 18 feet. These 2 bullet streams, center of bullet stream to center of bullet stream, or dispersion pattern, whatever you want to call it, 18 feet apart. Because they've crossed at 325, now we're at 650, they've continued out at the same angle and are back to 18 feet apart. So if we add another 325 yards, which I'm not going to have you do, but just in theory now, the reason this conversion setup is not good for shooting at ranges beyond this, at 1,000 yards, the bullet dispersion pattern is huge. So it's over 20 feet. And if you were aiming at the fuselage, neither one of your bullet streams is hitting the enemy aircraft. The bullet streams are so far apart at that point, they're more than 35 feet apart. So they might be hitting the wingtips of a Corsair, but only a few of the bullets are. Something smaller than a 36-foot wingspan, from a Spitfire down to an LA or a 109 that has a 32-foot wingspan, bullets are missing entirely at 1,000 yards. Unless you're aiming outside of his wingtip, and again you're hitting with one bullet stream, that's kind of a miracle shot with this convergence. So I don't suggest shooting at fighters at that extreme range with this setup. And that's why, because the bullets are just spreading out too far. A lot of guys put their pipper right on the guy out there at that long range and fire, and they think they're going to hit you. And you'll see the bullets flying by on either side of you, and usually low as well. So that.
Now with aircraft that have the cowl mounted, is that not such a big deal?
Yeah, that's correct. Good observation. What we're talking about here are wing-mounted guns, because they have to be angled inward in order to meet a convergence, right? You have to have a horizontal convergence, harmonization. That was the word I was looking for. You have to have a horizontal harmonization as well as the vertical harmonization. Less so with cowl-mounted guns. So the P-30, that's the reason I don't teach this course in the P-38. P-38 is a killer at 1,000 yards. If you know what your vertical bullet drop points are. If you know how to aim vertically, you don't have to worry about the horizontal harmonization. Or at least as much. Now you're still going to have a much bigger bullet dispersion pattern because of the distance. So in other words, the pattern's getting bigger and bigger, meaning you have less concentrated fire, less weight of fire hitting your target as you get to those extreme ranges. But definitely, cowl-mounted guns or nose-mounted guns don't have these issues. But these are all things you can test. The reason I'm walking you through this is you want to get in flight with your favorite airplane and fire at these targets at different set ranges. Half your convergence, twice your convergence, even 3 times your convergence if you're getting out to 1,000 yards. And you can know where your bullets are going. You can test that. And then you've got planes like the 190 that can have a mix of wing guns and cowl or hub-mounted cannon. So those are all things you want to test to try to see if you can get that horizontal and vertical harmonization or convergence to be at your ideal firing distance. And that ideal firing distance is up to you. There isn't a right or wrong to any of this. A lot of people ask, what's the best convergence? Yeah, there you go. See, Morph is a close-in shooter. And that's good also if you're a 109 guy too. I like to shoot in close.
I'm not a 109 guy, okay? All my the furthest convergence I use in any aircraft, I don't care where the guns are, it's 275 yards.
Yep, okay.
I just don't shoot until I see D200 or less, okay? At D200, I know my airplane is exactly 299 yards in front. I have the same things in my gun sight as you. I can measure the wings of a Lancaster. I can measure the wings of a fighter. I go about it slightly different. My is a circle. It's made of 20 mils, which is exactly half well, 3/4 between the center ring and the second ring. And 109 fills that ring, I know he's 200 yards away from me. I don't have to look at the icons, nothing. I know the distance by my gun sight, just like what you're doing, only slightly different. But I keep my convergences in close.
Yep.
Because, like you said, I'm a close-in shooter. I don't shoot at guys at 400, 500 yards out unless I want, like you said, to get them to chink. You know, move. That's why I leave tracers on.
Yep.
If I was on my own devices, I wouldn't have tracers on, and I would never shoot until I saw the whites of your eyes or the back of your head, which I prefer.
And that's why Ryno makes it
Yeah,
imperative that
absolutely.
you get lots of practice with your aircraft.
Yeah, good point, Vudu.
Right, because you're absolutely right. There's no right way. Everybody's different, you know, and each plane has its own individual.
Yeah, my advice, and, you know, just Eric Hartman's advice, shoot when the plane fills your windscreen. That's why I focus so much
But very interesting so far.
on firing inside convergence. As we get further in the course, you'll see the next exercise that we do and the final exercise that we do are all shooting at inside convergence, 62 yards. I do that to get you used to using a sight picture.
So you teach the principle of aiming one wing or the other? Is this what you're...
Yes. It's one wing shooting, and I also call it aim small, miss small, which gets you focusing on aiming for a specific point of the aircraft. But
Sorry.
it demonstrates how much... No, that's all right. The guns are a lot more effective. In addition to being able to hit more accurately, firing it is better. And again, that's why I want you to learn to be able to use the two bullet streams. Use that half convergence point. Because the guns, you're doing way more damage at 162 yards than you are even at 325 yards. Maybe not significantly, but where the velocity of the round starts to drop off, kinetic energy of that bullet starts to drop off, and it does less damage. So firing close works. It worked for Hartman. He said, fire when the enemy fills your windscreen, and they go down.
Something to remember, though, Hartman knocked himself
That's how he
down
did
several
it.
times with the
'Cause you're
trash
just
that
doing
fell off the
way more
aircraft
damage.
because he was too close. So, you know, keep that in mind.
Yeah, and one of the things with just the 420s, well, 450s and a 20 mil, is that the bullet dispersion pattern is less too, because they're all mounted close together in the nose. And man, that 38 just saws planes apart once you learn how to shoot with it. The key to that is learning your vertical harmonization points, because there is a little bit depending upon what your convergence is.
Oh, definitely.
And with cannons, as you set them further out, you've got a much steeper arc. They have to get out to say 500 yards. I wouldn't run a 500-yard convergence with cannon, because you got this big arc.
It depends
But
on
they
the
have to-
cannon. 20 millimeter,
they have
that's
to shoot in.
that's not applicable. But in 30
Again,
millimeter,
these are all
he is
things,
correct.
test it with your favorite airplane. Just get in the plane, fly it, get into level flight, and bring the plane up to speed, where in auto level the pipper's on the center of that target, and set your target at different ranges. And see where your bullet streams are. Both the cannon, fire the cannon separately from the MGs. The trajectories are vastly different. A lot of guys set their cannon out a little bit further than the machine guns also, because the velocity of the muzzle velocity of the cannons is less. They reach the target later. So you might have them both harmonized at the same distance, but the cannon are getting there after the MGs. So a lot of times the cannon rounds are falling behind the airplane that you're shooting at, and only your machine guns are hitting. Another little trick with testing the different gun setups.
Yeah, DC, that really bugs Shagan all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. All right, Taliban, thanks for sticking around. Fortunately, Taliban's a VF-17 guy, and will be able to do this course at any time he wants, and I can run him through the second part of it. So let's get in the air and let's do some shooting, and then I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll see if we can get to that last exercise, all right? So we're going to all move over.
Gerald, where you going? Go ahead.
We're going to move over to field 33. So everyone just clear your target. Type .target 0. Bear with me 1 second.
Going to 33.
And then type .move, M-O-V-E, space 33, and we'll be lifting from there in just a second. I'm going to get this phone out of my office here because it keeps ringing.
Okey-dokey, yeah, 33. So, yeah,
Sorry, say again, TC?
I said, y'all
Nope, I haven't launched yet, but let's go ahead and take off from the south. We'll go south runway. Doesn't matter if you're on another runway, go ahead and take off. We'll all just join up south. And then we're going to make a turn to 270 to west. Oh, at this point too, if you want to, you could get out of the Corsair and fly whatever you want, but I think for the exercises it's nice to do it in the same airplane so we all see the same thing.
are all in south.
Okay. Everyone roll south. A33. Then we'll make a left-hand orbit and go pick up PC.
I can catch up to you.
Raj, just don't want to get out too far ahead. All right, when you're ready, turn to 270. Nose down slightly. Go ahead and put in a little WEP if you want. Let's get more of a line abreast going instead of in trail, because we're going to be shooting, and I don't want anybody else. And we want to get this plane up to about 300 miles an hour before we start doing our shooting sights here. So just go auto level on west. Once you got some separation, nobody's right in front of you. And let's go ahead and bring up our targets now that we're in auto level. X for auto level if you don't know. Dot target space 325 space 270.
Y'all going line abreast?
Yeah, just make sure nobody's right in front of you. So when you pull the trigger, you're not putting the bullets into somebody. That can get a little distracting. And then go ahead and line up on the vertical line. As we reach a little over 300 miles an hour, you'll notice that the pipper should be right on the bullseye. In auto level. We're going to do an exercise here that I call shoot around the clock. So look at the vertical and horizontal lines and see where they intersect the outer circle of the target. So the inner crossing is the bullseye. Then we've got 12 o'clock where the vertical line meet outer circle, top of the target. 3 o'clock on the right hand edge, 6 o'clock at the bottom, 9 o'clock on the left hand edge. Where the red line meets, horizontal line meets the outer circle. Just like the positions on a clock face. What we're going to do is we're going to fire a burst at the center, 2-second burst. We're going to pull up. We're going to shoot the 12 o'clock bullseye. We're then going to shoot the 3 o'clock spot. Then down to the 6 o'clock spot and 9 o'clock. We're going to do it as quickly and as smoothly as we can. So don't pause in between. This is all about maneuvering and firing and trying to be unloaded when you squeeze the trigger so you get a tight bullet pattern. So when I say commence, shoot at the bullseye, pull up, shoot 12 o'clock, then 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. When you're done doing that, on channel, go ahead and say complete. And I'll see how long it takes you. The key is to get a nice tight, that 10-foot circle bullet pattern just like we did when we were on the ground. Everybody ready?
Roger.
Yep.
You ready, Wheeler? TC, you got that? I don't know if we lost TC here. Still got me?
I'll make sure that your trim is set
Let's
right.
go ahead and do it once, and we're going to turn around and do it again anyways. TC's working with somebody. Alright, so let's, when I say commence, go ahead and we'll do our shoot around the clock, starting with the bullseye. So you got 5 targets you're going to shoot. The bullseye you're pretty much already on. And commence. And complete.
Complete.
And complete. I hadn't flown this off
Okay,
much. My
take-
trim's off.
Go ahead and zoom in. Oh, by the way, you should be doing this unzoomed, as most of the shooting you'll do is unzoomed, unless you're shooting at a distance. If you normally shoot zoomed, that's fine, but I like to do it unzoomed and then zoom in and look at the bullet patterns.
Okay. Should we turn around before we go?